I'm Charles Bankhead of MedPage Today. Increased concern about obesity and its associated complications has brought new attention to the field of bariatric surgery. At the recent meeting of the American Society for Metabolic and Bariatric Surgery meeting in San Diego, I spoke with ASMBS President Robin Blackstone of Scottsdale Healthcare in Arizona about the new attention to her field, as well as the key issues in the ongoing struggle to control the worldwide epidemic of obesity.
Clearly when you have a disease state that affects 2/3 of the U.S. population and increasing numbers of people worldwide, eventually it's going to get a lot of attention. It was the case, and still is a little bit, that people believe that that it's something about personal responsibility, personal choice. I don't personally know anybody who's overweight that would choose to be that way. And as we begin to really delve into the physiology of obesity and how it actually obesity occurs, we really understand that it's really much less about your free choice to eat, overeat, than it is about the drivers that cause you to do that are genetics, that are signaling to the brain. And we know also that once you get to a certain point, which is around a BMI of 30, that your physiology changes in a way that really drives that process to maintain that level of obesity. So, I think that one of the things that's really changed is that as our understanding becomes more sophisticated, we begin to realize that you don't have a choice.
Advances in understanding of the biology of obesity also have contributed to increased recognition of bariatric surgery.
Once we begin to understand what drives the obesity, we began to look at what happened with the surgery. And, really what prompted this is this diabetes remission. So when Walter Poyers reported that diabetes went into remission, most people said, no, can't be. And it wasn't until the accumulation of more and more patients that our medical colleagues actually stepped back to say, what's really going on here? When they do that, they develop rat models, they are testing things on, they're really delving into the physiology of the surgery. And all of a sudden, as surgeons who went, hey, it works, we're like, oh, but it doesn't work by restricting your food or causing malabsorption. It actually works by changing the signals from the gut to the brain or from fat tissue to the brain. And, it's the first time, really, in any surgical specialty where we've understood that the things that we do are fundamentally changing the physiology of the body at the molecular level, at the level of the hormone and brain signaling. And, once you get to that, then you begin to realize you really truly are dealing with a disease state, and you truly do have something you can offer a patient that fixes it.
Some evidence now suggests that bariatric surgery warrants consideration as an early or primary intervention in treatment of diabetes.
In this meeting, we've seen some data arise that defines the remission of retinopathy, which is problems with your eyes from diabetes, nephropathy, kidney disease. And when you have a gastric bypass, you normalize your blood sugar almost all the time. But in addition, over the next 5 years, all of those diseases which were occurring as a result of diabetes are reversed. So, if you're a diabetic patient, doesn't matter how big you are. Let's say your BMI is only 32. But if you're a diabetic patient, you can take medications, but those secondary complications still occur. Or you can have surgery and they go away. As a patient, what would I rather have? So what we've been focused on is really getting the safety down to a really exact science so that we can offer that to people with as minimal a risk as it can be.
Traditionally, patients have had 2 or 3 options for bariatric surgery, but the newest procedure, sleeve gastrectomy, might eventually be the preferred technique in many cases.
The sleeve, in terms of its excess weight loss and in terms of its effect, is really in the middle. And I think that there will be increasing numbers of people seeking sleeve. And the reason is simple. It has many of the metabolic effects the bypass has. without the same degree of nutrient malabsorption. So we know that calories aren't necessarily malabsorbed, but nutrients can be malabsorbed with the bypass, particularly, calcium, iron, some really important nutrients. And so with the sleeve, we don't tend to see that as much in the same degree. Even though we recommend that everyone takes multivitamins, it doesn't seem to happen. I think that the palette of foods is a little broader with the sleeve. You can have a sleeve and go home the day after surgery. Your time off works less. So there's a lot less adaptation afterwards. Now, anytime you got less, you also probably have less weight loss. So, how that's going to play out against the bypass over years, we don't have like great 10-year data. But we have reasonable 3-year data, really reasonable, really good 3-year data, and I think it's sufficient for people to be choosing it.
In managing and preventing weight regain, the field of bariatric medicine might take its cue from specialties such as cardiology and oncology, where combination strategies have a long history.
I think that we have very good evidence from the intensive behavioral studies that obesity is a tough nut to crack. People just want to go back to that obese set point, and everything about their biology is driving them there. So really being able to intervene in different places in those pathways and knowing what those are, that's our goal. That's really where we've got to be.
Recently, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services approved a pathway for coverage of sleeve gastrectomy. The decision came shortly after Dr. Blackstone had reported favorable results with bariatric surgery in older obese patients.
We got to realize that we have a very dynamic group of baby boomers. We're basically a group of people that believe that we should be hiking mountains till we're 85, right? That we're not going to surrender at all until we, accomplish everything that we've set out in our lives. And so I think that we have an expectation that we're going to be functional and healthy for a longer period of time of our life. And, part and parcel to that, I was just very interested in how older patients fared with these procedures. And I can tell you that I think the sleeve in particular is going to be a procedure with great value in that group.
Private insurers also have warmed up to bariatric surgery after the potential health benefits and cost savings were clarified.
Up through 2004, every patient in America who had a general surgery benefit could have bariatric surgery. And the insurance companies saw an increasing number of patients, and they were worried about that. They weren't positioned right. They hadn't endorsed the quality programs that really arose out of that time to try to deliver the best quality and value of care. And so I think now they're positioned differently. Now the cost-benefit ratio has really changed. So if they look critically at the patients that they're offering coverage to, they will see that there is a great value demonstrated in decreasing the cost of that patient's care over their lifetime. Now, it's a little tricky because it requires an investment up front. And so rather than paying out over years of a diabetic's life, all of that is scrunched into a few years of time. But I think that the key here is that if we can achieve an essential health benefit in obesity treatment, which includes the whole spectrum of care, then patients will work through the medical model, and not all patients will be eligible for surgery or need surgery. Many may be treated with medications and intensive therapy, but there will be a pathway for them to get care. And that, in the end, if it's implemented at the level of an essential health benefit across all states, that is really where we're going to see a huge home run.
For MedPage Today, I'm Charles Bankhead.